You know, you can never crawl back into the skin of the person that you once were. RoboCop isn't just about a cyborg shooting bad guys. It's about the horror that comes after surviving. It's about trying to stitch a soul back together from fragments of memory and sheer bloody-mindedness. And if you think this film is just a satire of Reagan-era America, then you're missing some very real and very important points. This isn't a film about justice. It's a film about trauma, deep, collective, societal trauma, and the madness of trying to resurrect a dead man instead of just grieving for him. And here's the thing, because you can't resurrect a dead man without digging up a grave, and when you dig up a grave, you don't just find the body, you find everything that was buried with it. All of the fear, all of the rage, the bad wiring in the culture that let it happen in the first place. On the surface, it's all gunfights and explosions and corporate villains. Underneath, it's a psychological horror, a possession story about a man's body being hijacked, his humanity stripped away, and his soul trying to claw its way back from the abyss. And that clawing ain't smooth, it is awkward, it is violent, it is messy. At times it's like watching a baby animal trying to learn to walk, like on broken legs. And at first, RoboCop is like an infant, being shaped by the people around him. His fathers, both kind and absolutely monstrous, who will imprint themselves onto him. And in that struggle, he becomes something far stranger than just a hero. He becomes a mirror for how society processes its own trauma. So yeah, this ain't just a film about one man, it's a film about all of us. Welcome back to the Decline and Fall of British Sci-Fi, the channel where we don't believe that there is such thing as the big dumb action film, because they always seem to have far too much to say for themselves. As always though, please remember that this is just my personal view. You may agree with me, or you might just think that I'm an insane Cockney hooligan. Either way, that's fine. So let's really get into it. For me, RoboCop is a film about what happens after you survive. It's about a man trying to claw his way back into a life that he barely recognises, trying to stitch his identity back together with nothing but memory fragments and just instinct, really. It's also about something bigger though, something collective. It's about what happens to an entire society when it takes a hit so big that it has to rebuild itself from the ground up. And just like Murphy, that rebuilding is awkward, halting, and constantly under the influence of just whoever's holding the reins. Before we start digging a proper though, if you're new here, welcome. Do me a favour and hit the old subscribe button, because that really helps the channel out. And if you're not new here, welcome back, you absolute bunch of mad lads. You lot probably already know how this is going to go. So RoboCop is of course the 1987 classic directed by Paul Verhoeven, written by Edward Nehemiah and Michael Miner, two men who managed to jam ultra-violence, satire, trauma and like a full-on death and resurrection arc into one script. So Paul Verhoeven, that wacky Dutchman, he's had one look at this and he's having none of it. He thought it was absolute crap and he just chucked it in the bin. And then his wife come along and she sees it and she's all like, Paul, baby, don't be a muppet. This ain't just some film about a robot copper. It's got tons going on. And then just like that, Verhoeven was in on it. But here's the thing though, because Verhoeven didn't walk into filmmaking as a blank slate. He was born in the Netherlands in 1938. I think we know where this is going. So it would be fair to argue that he was forged in utter carnage. He spent his early years living down the road from a V2 rocket factory, which kind of meant his childhood wasn't just about war, it was also constant bombardment. The Allies would just go ape shit and blow fuck out of these places every time they found them. So his childhood was constant bombing, it was collapsing buildings, it was carnage in the streets. He's talked about being a little kid and seeing bodies being pulled out of the rubble, images that never left him. It's why RoboCop doesn't feel like a clean techno thriller. It's got this grimy, sometimes nightmarish intensity. That's Verhoeven's headspace bleeding into the film. he just swapped out the runners-up of World War II for corporate overlords. So, Peter Weller, I honestly don't think another actor could have pulled this off. But I also don't think another actor would have put up with it, because he was stuck inside that RoboCop costume and it was hell. When they first started shooting this, it could take them hours just to put it on him. It was made up of over 50 interlocking pieces, and trust me when I say this, it was roasting. Because they weren't filming in old Detroit, they was filming in Dallas. He would lose over 3 pounds a day just sweating. How much is that in kilos? Let me know in the comments. Eventually, it got so bad that I had to stick an air conditioner inside the suit, like just to stop him collapsing. So all those slow, deliberate RoboCop movements, well, a lot of that ain't acting. A lot of that is just Weller trying not to pass out. Even small movements were a nightmare for him. Like that scene where he catches the keys that are thrown to him. That took him 3 days to shoot that. All because the gloves on the suit were too thick. He reckoned it was like trying to catch him wearing oven gloves. But it worked though. Because that's what gave RoboCop that weird, uncanny kind of movement that he had. And it really sells the idea that you've got this man that's trapped inside this thing that's just inhuman. Then you've got the two special effects legends, Rob Bottin and Phil Tippett. Tippett had already worked on Star Wars at that point and would go on to work on Jurassic Park. And it was Rob Bottin that handled Murphy's destruction. That scene is an emotional throat punch. It's not stylised, it is just raw. It's like watching a crucifixion by shotgun. And to accomplish it, he just used really great sound design, lots of blood packs, and really, really great prosthetics as well. And all this comes together to make something that's not your average Hollywood death scene. It's actually something genuinely traumatic. So when you watch this film, it is easy to see that it is a satire. It's a big, loud, blood-soaked parody of Reagan-era America. It's mocking the corporate takeover of public services, the rise of mega-corporations, the militarisation of the police. It's a giant middle finger to neoliberal economics. It's saying, look what happens when you let the market just run amok. You get companies like OCP running the cops, selling the streets to the highest bidder, treating human beings like garbage. And it's not just the economics, it's the entire 1980s consumer dream. They show adverts for artificial hearts, and they package it like they're just selling you the latest model car, as though the technology to save an actual human life is just another product for the market. Then of course there's the messianic angle to this film. Murphy dies and rises again, then starts walking on water, or oil, or blood, or whatever it is Detroit is leaking that week. He is crucified by the criminals, he's reborn through technology, and then walks back into the precinct like Christ walking out of a tomb. Only this time he's properly tooled up and he's got zero patience. RoboCop himself has been compared to Frankenstein's monster, he's been compared to the Tin Man from The Wizard of Oz, and Jesus himself in Kevlar. And yes, if you go looking for it, all of that is in this film. And of course, yes, this film is about identity. The man trapped in the machine, the soul versus programming. That scene where he gets asked what his name is, and he just says Murphy. It's one of the most iconic moments in sci-fi history. A man claws his way back to the surface, even if just a fragment of him makes it. Then there's Verhoeven's trademark, all that violence. And it ain't just violent, it's deliberately cartoonish violence. People get shot into red mist, limbs fly off. There are moments where you get literal fountains of blood. It's designed to be funny, so you laugh. Then there's this moment where you stop and think, like, wait, what the hell am I laughing at? It's all designed to make you complicit in that spectacle, because you become part of the machine. But here's the thing, this video is my personal view after all, so now I'll get to plant my flag and tell you what I think's going on in this film. I think that if this film was just about all of that, then it just wouldn't hit as hard as it does, and it certainly wouldn't stick in your ribs for decades the way it has. Satire is clever, but satire on its own don't make you flinch the way Murphy's death scene does. That scene doesn't feel like parody. It doesn't feel like some comic book panel come to life. It feels like you're watching a fucking war crime. It's too long, too detailed. It doesn't cut away when you want it to. And that's why, to me, there's something else going on here. There's something underneath all the satire. Something that's not just about politics or corporations. Something raw, something human. something that smells like trauma. So, have you ever met anybody that's been through a massive trauma? And I don't mean in like the immediate aftermath, I'm talking like 6 months, a year down the line. They're walking, they're talking, they're functioning, but you can tell they didn't really survive. Something inside of them just never came back. It's like they're a ghost wearing their own skin. Well, I think that's Murphy. I think that's RoboCop. Because RoboCop isn't a resurrection story, it's a possession story. It's a trauma story. It's a psychological horror dressed up as a sci-fi film. Murphy isn't reborn, he's reanimated. And for the first half of the film, nobody, not the criminals, not the cops, not even himself, sees him as a person. They just see him as a product, as just another weaponised tool to wage war on disorder. But here's the twist, because emotionally, he's still a child. Those first moments after birth, the weird POV shots as he's being assembled, they're like the sensory overload of a newborn. Blurry faces leaning in, strange voices, bright lights, people celebrating around him like he's some miracle, which he is, in their eyes, but he's completely disorientated. There's that one female scientist, and she looks at him with this kind of maternal pride, mixed with something archetypal and a little bit sensual. She's not just his creator, she's an image that's being burned into his psyche while it still forms. And what do they feed him? Literally baby food. It's a bit on the nose, yeah, but thematically, it's perfect. So from here, to me at least, this film becomes a Jungian case study. RoboCop, in psychological terms, is a blank slate, and he's being imprinted on by the father figures around him. He's a child. He's learning who he is by copying the men who influence him. And just like in real life, those influences, well, they ain't all good. On the one end, you've got the lawful fathers, OCP itself, represented by the old man. He's cold, he's detached, he's corporate, he rules without compassion. At best, he's the absent father, only showing up when the kid becomes useful to him. And then you've got Sergeant Reed, he's the everyman type of father, the decent dad, the one who tries to hold the family, or in his case the precinct, together with a sense of duty and a sense of honour. He's stern, yeah, but he cares a lot. And then you've got Lois. She's playing the role of the nurturing and protective father. She's an emotional anchor for him. She sees him. To me, when I look at those scenes where he's on the run with her, she feeds him. She provides for him. She even teaches him how to aim properly again. There's a very subtle message there. Her role is vital in this film because without her, RoboCop can't rediscover Murphy. And then there's Clarence Bodica. Clarence is the shadow father, the dark archetype. He's loud, brash, chaotic, utterly confident in his own power. And this is where it gets a little bit uncomfortable because RoboCop, whether he likes it or not, whether he realises it or not, he is just like Clarence. He's got the same energy, he's got the same swagger, and he's got the same directness. But the biggest thing he takes from Clarence, well, is his capacity for violence. RoboCop is ultra violent. He is supposed to be a police officer. He's supposed to be a civilian. Yet his methods and his tools, they're just as bad as the villains. Clarence is the closest RoboCop has to a real father. And you can see this as well in the casting of the film because they both resemble each other. Look at Clarence's hairline and look at RoboCop when he takes the mask off. That's not done by accident. Clarence even gets scarred and injured on his forehead just the same way that RoboCop is. But even that aside, all you got to do is watch him in action. Shooting people in the penis, blasting his way through drug factories. And that is why this is one of the most uncomfortable truths of the film, because yes, he is a father archetype, but he's also the man that traumatised him. And when you view it like this, the message isn't that subtle. It says this: hey, yeah, you can be traumatised and you can try and claw your way back, but you'll never be who you was. And worse still, that very trauma will always be part of you now. It's part of your new identity, whether you like it or not, and whether you see it or not. And that's just the personal trauma layer. I think it goes wider. I think RoboCop tells a story about national trauma. To answer this, you have to ask yourself the question, well, why Detroit? Well, because it's not just a city, it's a metaphor for America in the 80s, battered by deindustrialisation, crime, corruption, and rampant monetarism. You've got a working class that's been gutted out, a police force that's under siege, public services are all being sold off, the body of this city is broken, just like Murphy's. And the people in power, well, they're just trying to fix it with technology, privatisations and PR, all without ever addressing the damage underneath. Murphy's journey, clawing back his name, his identity, his humanity, is America trying to claw back its soul after Vietnam, Watergate, the economic chaos of the 70s, and the rapid deindustrialisation of the 80s. And just like in real life, the fathers leading the way are a mixed bag. Some of them are compassionate, some corrupt, some outright psychotic. When Murphy finally says Murphy at the end of the film, that's not just a personal victory, it's a personal statement on behalf of every American, because it's saying to the powers that be, I'm not your product, I'm a person, and I'll never be part of your machine. And that's why for me, RoboCop is more than just a satire. It's a PTSD story, it's a father-son story, it's a national trauma story, and it's a national recovery story. Except, like in real life, the recovery is messy, imperfect, and never fully complete. If you made it this far, thanks for watching, and I hope you see RoboCop a little bit differently now. And let me know what you think in the comments section. Was Murphy resurrected, or was he just reanimated? Was Clarence his worst enemy, or was he his actual father? I am also open to suggestions as well. If you've got a film or TV show you want me to cover, just let me know. And while you're down in the comments section, you might as well hit the like button. And if you hit the like button, you might as well subscribe as well. You can also give me a follow on X and or Blue Sky. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.